Do less, be more. That was the actual reflective comment that one of my coaching clients shared with me this past week as we looked at the past 5 to 6 months of work together. He shared with me that he felt like he was doing less, but he was becoming more. And, as we climb through organizations, this stuff happens. At some point, we've got to stop doing what we've always done because we've got to start doing something new in order for us to grow and in order for others to grow around us. And I thought that reflective answer to his question, I am doing less, but I'm being more. Our team is doing more because I'm letting them do more and I'm doing less is such a fantastic reflection on a very short engagement of 5 to 6 months. And I want to be able to share some of these insights that they're sharing with me with you today. My name is Catherine Cantey. I am an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. If you're interested in learning more about business best practices, what folks are doing to continue to learn and grow and thrive month after month, year after year, decade after decade, we share these best practices on the Business Vitality podcast. They are found, all the episodes are found on a number of the podcast platforms that are out there: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. We've got more than 50 episodes out there for you to listen to. And I just appreciate being able to pay it forward and being able to share with other people lessons learned. The reason I'm doing this is because so many people have paid it forward to me, and I want to continue to pay it forward. And doing some of these live lessons is a way to do that. And I thought it would be fun today just to be able to share what one of my client shared with me, and actually it's more than one. This is a theme that keeps popping up as leaders grow in organizations. They're realizing the work is shifting and it's no longer filling out, as I joke, the TPS reports. It's being available to the team around them. It's supporting the folks around them and being there, blocking time to be with them, to support them, to allow them to grow. And that's what we're going to talk about today: is being able to do less and be more. So, I like to ask a lot of reflective questions during our time together. And so sometimes those reflective questions are, what are one or two most impactful things from these conversations? Much like this talk today. If you would like to share maybe one or two things that you're able to take away from this, I really appreciate it. It lets me know what's working, what's not working, because I want to continue to refine this message and continue to refine um, what I'm offering to people. And a lot of times people just email me and they're like, I got a lot from it. And I do like to ask, what did you get from it? And I got a great email, very lengthy, of takeaways from another leader. And it created a conversation. And I'm just curious to see where it goes. And if I think about it, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would reach out to people that I didn't necessarily know, and I would ask, I would share and I would ask questions. And the folks would respond. It really shocked me that a lot of these very busy leaders would respond. What stuck with me were the practical applications, the conversations that I need to have with people around me, the ability to be able to ask the question. And sometimes, even last week, the particular coaching that I'm doing, executive coaching, the question is that I ask them, did you ask the people around you, your sponsors, your stakeholders, have they seen improvement? And I'll ask the tough question, did you really ask? And they come back and they're like, well, I think they meant that they saw it. And I was like, that doesn't count. You have got to ask people around you, are they seeing the change? Because the coaching that we're doing, it only matters if the people around you see the change. It doesn't matter if we told ourselves in our head that we've changed and we're telling the coach in our head, yeah, they've changed. The work that we're doing with stakeholder center coaching is including the stakeholders around us. And stakeholders are your manager, your peers, your sponsors, your direct reports, people that are around you that notice your behaviors, because it's really our behaviors that get the measurement, that get the critique, that get the recognition. And if we're saying one thing and doing something else, that's not aligning. And so we need to shift the way that we are leading. We need to shift the way other people see us as leaders in order for us to grow. A lot of times folks have been in organizations sometimes for 5, 10, 15 years and even longer. And that's great that they have institutional knowledge. The holdback is some people will continue to see these leaders in that old light. And what we need to do is shift the perception. We need to shift the recognition from who they used to be to who they're becoming. And that's really hard because as humans, we have ingrained, and it's just easier to always see people the way we always seen them. And the beautiful thing about stakeholder center coaching, which I'm a master executive coach with this, is we change not just the leader, but we change the perception of the leader around them. And we actually gauge this with a mini survey. And we do mini surveys throughout the engagement to kind of get a check of the pulse of what's working and what's not working. So we know how to tweak things going forward. For those of you just dialing in, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach. I'm also a podcast host of Business Vitality. And today I just want to reflect on what I learned from clients this past week. And one that really stood out, one reflective question was was do less, be more. And when we have that opportunity to realize that we are doing less is kind of the old way of doing things. It's kind of the old way of how we got to where we are. And we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to run around like a chicken with our head cut off. We have talented team members around us. And when you're managing teams and managing talented individuals out there, we are going to have to do less in the way that we used to work. We're going to have to be available with people. We're going to have time with people. And we're going to have to shift our perception of what is creating impact in the business. And so when we're doing less, we're actually being more available to the team, being more available to the business. We're providing more solutions, not just problems that are coming up. So we're shifting the way we're seeing things. And, change just doesn't happen overnight, but we can create change through small pockets of time. And this past weekend, I had a restaurant owner actually share with me a comment that still sticks. And the restaurant owner shared, I only have 3 hours a week. I don't even have any time to think hardly, but I only have 3 hours a week. And this restaurant owner wants to go after her sommelier and she wants to become a somm. And I said, that's how change happens, is in 3 hours a week. You choose how to own your time for you to be able to do more, to create more impact in the business. And so much of the work that so many successful people are creating is they're taking these blocks of time, even if it is only 3 hours a week, and they're creating something amazing out of that. And if you only have 3 hours a week, how do you want to use it? And where's your goal? And where is it that you want to be able to go? And during one of my workshop exercises last month, we did a time blocking experiment in there, and the time blocking experiment was bring your laptops during this meeting, open up your laptops, open up your email, and you're going to get 5 minutes. And all you got is 5 minutes. I want to see how many emails you can get rid of. And we had a room of 30, 40 people in there, and they worked quietly and they worked on the email. And I said, do not get involved with email tennis. If something is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you've got to put down the tennis racket and pick up the phone. But I want to see how many emails you can get out of that inbox in 5 minutes. And some of the individuals, they raised their hand at the end of the 5 minutes. They were like, I got rid of three. I got rid of, but they were three big ones. I got rid of, 5, 10. I got rid of 50 emails. And then somebody else raised their hand. I was blown away. They got rid of 150 emails in 5 minutes. I'm like, how's that even possible? They're like, there's that many emails that are pinging back and forth. And sometimes I'm just carbon copied on them and I got to get them out of the box. So if you only have 5 minutes, use that time. Use that time in order to be more, and sometimes you've got to take small increments of time. It could be 5 minutes a day. It could be 3 hours a week, whatever it is, but take that time and figure out how are you going to intentionally own it in order to drive that future version of you that you're seeking to find. And this ties back into all these practical applications. I love practical applications. The work that I do, the work that I was certified in with Marshall Goldsmith and Stakeholder Center Coaching is based on practical applications. I've worked with folks who thought that we needed to create some brand new solution. It needs to be cutting edge, needs to be innovative. And it doesn't really need to be innovative all the time. The best businesses continue to show up and return phone calls and take care of the customer. That is not innovative. But those are the people that are booking business right now. They return phone calls. They take care of the customer. They make sure the customer is right, and they lead them to the solution that they're mutually agreed upon to solve for. And so, sometimes we don't have to be some innovative rocket scientist. And when we think about innovation is, the invention of the cell phone, the invention of the telephone, the invention of the internet. We do not need to think that it's innovative to create a new app. That's not innovation. Apps were innovative. A phone was innovative. But creating another app, that's not necessarily innovative and life changing. And my recommendation is stop getting bogged down in trying to create the next innovative idea when all we really need are the good practical applications. We do not have to overcomplicate business, overcomplicate leadership. We just need to get back down to the practical applications. And when we do, we can do less and we can become more. And as we think about this, and I think about some of the coaching clients, they're managing anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20, even teams of 200 people. And they're realizing that when they're working with these individuals, they're going to have to do an incredibly amount, just a large amount of less. They've got to do a whole lot less in order for other people to be successful on the team. They cannot be in every single meeting, they cannot do every single thing. It's not sustainable. And the leaders that are really owning their career, owning the advancement is, they're being able to do less and be more, and they're developing habits, they're embracing delegation, and they're improving their time management. And so these folks that are growing others around them, this is a skill that can be transferred into any business that you ever get into. If you can grow the people that are on your team and build stronger teams, you will be put into any kind of organization. You can be put into any team within any organization. I mean, take a pulse of the economy. How many dysfunctional teams are out there? If you can build a quality team, you can write your ticket to anywhere you want to go in your career. And so, doing less and being more, we have to develop the right habits. We have to embrace delegation. We've got to improve our time management. All of this ties into some habits. Some habits are what is going to guide us every day, every hour of the day. And what are our morning habits? Like, let's just start down to the basics. I talk about practical applications. I talk about like just getting back to the basics. So think about the kickoff of your day. What are your habits? What are your habits every day that are going to drive the impact that you're going to create for the day over day over day, week after week after week? And so, think about it. How do you start your day? I'm going to ask you three questions. And then for those of you that are just dialing in, my name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. I would love for you to reach out to me if you're curious about learning more about any of this information. I am wanting to pay this forward. I've had too many people pay into me. There's no way to repay the folks that have been around for a long time that are now retired. I can't continue to pay them back. They gave to me. They gave to me time and energy and knowledge, and my only way to figure out how to pay it forward is this. So if you want to continue the conversation, I love to be able to talk about just leadership growth. How do we grow the talent within an organization? How do we take the best of the best and just get them 1% better? And if you're curious, reach out to me, catherinecantey.com, schedule a call. And a lot of the calls start with, hey, I don't know if you can help, but can you listen? And a lot of times we can listen and figure out where we want to go from there. So we're talking about doing less and being more. And the first thing that comes to mind are our daily habits. And what are our daily habits? And so I want you to think about three questions that I'm going to ask. The first one is, how did you start your day? How do you start your day? Think about it. A lot of this time we just react, 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 and we're not proactively thinking about this. And so just take a reflective moment and think about, how do you start your day? The second question is, what are the one or two things in the morning that really create a fantastic day for you? What are the one or two things that really just kick off your day and just set your mood in the right place, set your mindset in the right place? What are these things that are the positive drivers that really like just set you up for success? That's the second question. Third question are what are one of the two things in the morning that really kind of hinder your day? What's kind of like if you get into that just response in the morning, what what is it that's going to hold you back from success? So the three questions today is as you think about habits, as we think about our morning habits, because our morning is then going to transition into afternoon and evening. And if we've got good momentum going, it's just going to continue to feed and create greatness. So think about the beginning of the day. How do you start your day? What are the one or two things in the morning that really create a fantastic day for you? And the third question are what are the one or two things in the morning that can hinder your day? And so for me, if you don't mind, I'll share. For me, my day starts with exercise, stretching, and then meditation. My days are not perfect. There are days when I had to catch an early flight. I spent 60% of my time on the road traveling for corporate America. I'm very grateful for the opportunities they gave me for the past 20, 25 years. But there were days when I had to catch an early flight, and all I had was time for a 10-minute walk around the block, maybe a 2-minute stretch, and a 3-minute meditation. That's all I had. But that was enough to get me in that mental space that I needed to be for the rest of the day. There were also days where I could have an hour. I could have an hour and a half to really exercise and be mindful and stretch and have quality meditation. For me, like this has just been a process that I've had to work on, and it's taken me a long time to figure it out. I had 20 plus years of practically daily migraines. It took me a long time to figure out how to get over that pain and like what the triggers were that were lighting me up to create failure. So I had to figure out how do I create success? How do I do that starting off the day? And even today, as I'm beginning to realize what's hindering my day is when I pick up my phone first thing in the morning, and then I realize, is this the behavior that I want to model for my 10-year-old? Probably not. I don't want him to see that the first thing I do is look at my phone in the morning. I want to be able to have a conversation with him, no matter how brief it may be. But I just want to be able to connect with him and not show that the first thing I do in the morning is go straight to my phone. I want to show to him that taking care of myself, making sure I get exercise, making sure I can stretch and move, and also making sure that I've got some time for some meditation or some mindfulness in there is what gives me the energy and model that behavior in order to set the day up for success. So I ask you, what are those things that drive success for you in your daily routine, in your morning routine, in your morning habits? Because these habits are truly what are going to allow for us to be set up for success in order to do less to be more. If you are just dialing in or watching, my name is Catherine Cantey. I am a master executive coach. I use Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Center Coaching. I'm one of 12 of his master coaches in the US. It has been a fantastic opportunity for the past 4 years using his work and creating change with other leaders in their organizations. Um, what I liked about his work and continue to like about his work is it creates measured, recognized change within an organization. And 100% of my clients have been able to create measured, recognized change as seen by other people around them. We do that using a mini survey. So we create periodic check-ins with the stakeholders. Stakeholders are folks that are managers, direct reports, other people in the organization that they think is important to gain the recognition that they're becoming a stronger leader. And we can work on time management, delegation. We can work on becoming more um, persuasive with their point of view within organizations. Everybody's got different things they want to work on. Executive presence changes at every level in the organization. So we're working on a number of things using stakeholder center coaching, and we are creating the change. I'm supporting the leaders to create that change. And I work with teams and individuals who use practical applications, and we are able to accelerate the results because of the work that we're doing together. So today we're talking about doing less and being more. We talked about habits. The second thing I want to talk about is delegation. Delegation is so incredibly important for all of our growths. opportunities that are out there. And part of this is realizing the things that we're doing on autopilot and realizing that we can share the work that we're doing with the people around us. And doing that, often I'm in these coaching conversations with leaders and I remind them that they don't have to do it all. They don't have to do it all anymore. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you need to do it. So many times in my career and in so many different avenues and opportunities that have come my way, I was having a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and I said, "Yeah, I know how to do it. I just don't have to do that anymore. But if I had to, I can go back and do it again. But I've got to stop doing certain things and let other people do it in order for me to continue to grow and continue to take on new opportunities." And, sometimes the leaders that I'm working with, they don't know where to start. They're like, "I don't even know where to start." So, very often I ask them a couple of questions. And, power of three, you know me, I like the power of three. First question is make a list of all these repetitive tasks that you complete week after week or month after month. And so when we start looking at delegation, and this can happen at all levels in the organization because as we grow, gosh knows, as I grew in corporate, they just continued to add more and more responsibility. So I think I kept my original job description, and then it was as other duties as defined. And then as I got promotions, which I was getting promotions every 18 and 24 months, they would just kind of take that job description. They give me the new job description, but they just made sure I kept doing the old job description too. But usually, because I'm so process oriented, I had processes for the old job, so it was easy to hand off and easy to work out of that job. But they would make sure that I had a new promotion and then other duties as defined, and then they just kind of made sure, hey, can you keep rolling with everything else with the processes that you created for that? And so, as you grow within an organization, we've got to figure out what are these repetitive tasks that we're doing. And because I guess I'm process oriented in a mindset, we realize that we have some repetitive tasks that we're doing. How do we drive efficiency? How do we figure out how to effectively create these tasks and automate them if it's possible, or be able to hand them off to the next person? And so, the first thing that I like to share with the leaders that I'm working with, the executives that I'm working with, or even the teams that I'm working with, is make a list of these repetitive tasks that you do every week or every month, whatever they may be. Make a list. It can be on a post-it note. This does not have to be some formalized report. And a lot of times, folks get stuck in analysis paralysis, and we've got to get out of that mindset. So just get a post-it note out, piece of paper, legal paper, whatever it is, but write down the repetitive stuff that you're doing. Once you write down that list, I want you to think about who are the people on your team that are constantly asking for more. We all have them. Someone on your team is always asking for more. And if you are growing within an organization, you are probably that person as well. And what you're realizing is, you never could have enough opportunities. And there are people around you on your team around you that want to be able to take on more. And if you're growing in an organization, you were that person or you continue to be that person. I want you to think about that that person or that person that is wanting more, that used to be you. And somebody took a chance on you. And you've got to be able to take a chance on somebody else to be able to let go of some of this work that's coming on your table, that's coming on your desk. And so think about who are these people that are asking for more responsibility. Next time they come by, share this list of stuff that's repetitive. Share the list with that talented person who's asking for more. So the first thing is make a list of these repetitive tasks. The second thing is think about who on the team is always asking for more responsibility. And the third thing is share that list with them and let them pick one or two things on that list. Now, here's the catch. After you make the list, you identify who's asking for more responsibility and you let them pick one or two things. Here's the catch, and you've got to remember this part. Be okay that they are only going to be able to do 80% capacity of your compared to your 100%. But in that trade off is the fact that you're getting 100% of your time back to go do something else, to go think and plan something bigger. And know that at one point in your career, you took a task on from somebody else who only could do it, you could only do it at 80% of their capacity. You may not do it exactly like that person. This person may not do it exactly like you, but in the long run, the job gets done. And it may only be at 80% capacity. You've got to be okay with that because it's going to give you 100% of your time back. And after this person gets an opportunity to refine it and figure it out, much like what you or I probably had to go through many times, they're going to figure out how to make it their own 100%. They may be able to hit it out of the park better than we even imagined or better than we could even do. So just know that if we give them an opportunity, and I always like to have deadlines put in there of like, let's try it for 30 days and see if you like it, and we'll come back in and reassess. So put a deadline out there and say, hey, you can take these two tasks. That sounds great. Let's try it for 30 days and then come back in and check it out. It's a way to be able to give some delegation to some high potentials. And it allows them to be able to have a little bit of failure or be able to at least try something new and then come back in and assess at the end of the time. So we're talking about doing less, being more. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. If you would like to learn more about anything that we're talking about, please visit me at catherinecantey.com. You can schedule a call or you can visit our resource page. I've got tons of resources out there. We have short 2-minute leadership clips. We also have over 50 podcasts that are recorded on business best practices. And there's a few white papers and things out there as well. Also, we've got over 1,000 people that are reading our LinkedIn Live newsletters. And I'd be happy to just continue to have you learn from there or our own newsletter if you're interested in that. Reach out and we'll be sure to include all of the things that we're learning ahead of time. We'll share it there first. So for those of you that are just kind of connecting in here, my name's Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality. The reason I'm doing all of this is because I've had countless people pour into me over my career. And today, as an executive coach, I am working with teams and individuals using practical applications in order to accelerate the results within an organization. And the leaders are receiving 100% recognized change accomplishments as seen by their stakeholders. And their stakeholders, the individuals that I'm coaching, the teams and the individuals that I'm coaching, their stakeholders are their managers, their direct reports, they're the folks that are around them in the office, the folks that they want to receive positive recognition from, that they're improving on the work that they're doing. And so today we're talking about doing less, being more. And that was the response when I asked one of my clients last week, what are you seeing kind of after 5 months of this work? And the leader came back and said, I'm doing less, but I'm becoming more. And that's such a crazy thing because in the early days, we just get bogged down with the details. And what we realize is as we grow in a career and grow in leadership, we are going to do less, but we are going to become more because we have a powerful team around us. And we're repeating this leadership message to be able to build people up. And part of this ties into time management. So we've talked about habits, we've talked about delegation, and now we're going to talk a little bit about time management. This is the core of everything in order to accelerate results. And I'm seeing this opportunity with a lot of clients, especially the ones early into the engagements with me. Time management is just mind blowing to so many people, but we've got to own our time, or we're just never going to be able to get out of that reactive mode. And we all say we want to do it, but are we doing the things that are going to drive us in the right direction? So part of doing less, being more ties into time management. And are we taking intentional planning of our time in order to do less? And in order for us to have that time to be available to people around us, we have to build in buffers in our time. And I'm a big proponent of building in the buffers, knowing the 2 or 3 things that we've got to do every day in order to drive the organizational change, in order to meet the goals that we're working on. And so to do that, we've got to own our time. And a lot of times when leaders are trying new things and they're realizing, I've got another leader that comes to mind, showed up to the meetings. He's leaving his phone and the computer away from the meeting. He's just kind of leaving it in the conference room while walking around, leaving it in the car while walking around. They admit it is awkward to walk around and not be looking at your phone the whole time. It is awkward to be visually engaged with people. After they have done this for a number of months, they come back. The leaders that I'm working with, the teams that I'm working with. They're like, they are so amazed that if they are truly focused on the conversation, they do not have to repeat themselves over and over again. The conversations are incredibly shorter, so much more efficient than they ever were before, and they're able to get so much more done in such a short period of time. And so they're telling me that it just feels awkward, like they're doing less. They're not scrolling on their phone and listening and watching a presentation. What they are doing is they're present, they're listening to people, they're answering the questions, and they're present with them. They're present with their teams, they're present with the folks that are around them, and they're able to have quality conversations that are able to move much quicker than a room full of people on their cell phones watching a presentation, listening to someone speak. And so this ties into time management. How are you intentionally taking your time to leave devices behind for 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes while you walk the shop floor, while you go out and see a customer, while you talk to the operations center, while you meet with the C suite? Leave those devices behind and have a quality conversation. But to do that, you've got to block time. And if you're growing the team that's around you, then what we're looking for is blocking time on the calendar to be present with them. It's not email tennis, it's not bantering back and forth, but it's blocking time on the calendar to be present when they come and ask questions. It's allowing them to schedule the time on the calendar to have that one-on-one time with you and not just have the meetings become a status update. Status updates are no longer going to be relevant as you climb throughout an organization. Status updates can be done through an email, and when you have a meeting, it needs to be a one-on-one conversation, eyeball to eyeball, devices left alone. But to do that, you've got to own your time. Otherwise, you're constantly reacting to emails, reacting to people looking at their cell phones, talking to people in a room, listening to a presentation. So, part of doing less and being more, you're not going to be able to do that unless you own your time, unless you own your time management, unless you own the 3 hours a week that you have, unless you own the 5 minutes to be able to go block and use that time block in order to knock out emails. Who knows? You might be able to knock out 150 emails like somebody else that we recently worked with. So today is all about doing less, being more. We've talked about habits, we've talked about delegation, we've talked about time management. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host. If you're interested in learning more about any of this, please visit me at catherinecantey.com. You can schedule a call so many times. Calls start out with, I'm not sure if you can help, but can you listen? And a lot of times we can usually figure something out. Once in a blue moon, I can't solve all problems, but I can at least listen. And a lot of the folks that we're working with now, they are using a lot of these practical applications like setting up the right habits, holding them accountable, creating some opportunities for delegation, and then also time management. Time management is like the core, the 101. And as we grow in an organization, we got to get better with our time. And when we combine this stuff together and create that accountability, our leaders are able to do less and become more. And 100% of my clients have been able to achieve the goals that they have set out for themselves. We measure these results with many surveys. And if you're interested in learning more, I would love to hear from you. Visit me at catherinecantey.com. Send me a message on LinkedIn. We'll get back to you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.